Drake Maye, and I'm going to say this as simply as I possibly can because it shouldn't be a surprise because he was the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. Drake Maye from UNC, part of the New England Patriots, is ready to be an NFL starting quarterback. I'm also going to say this about as cleanly and as succinctly as I possibly can. His team might be awful.
Oh, they're going to stink.
They might be really bad.
Stink. The Patriots stink.
I'm going to explain in just using the fundamentals the difference between Drake Maye and his team. Drake Maye at UNC was in a very RPO-filled, very not military regimented footwork. He was in kind of a be an athlete style offense, right? Because he was a really good athlete and they built around that. When he showed up in New England, they want it's West Coast, right? The West Coast offense, for those of you that are unaware, everything is about timing, right? Your wide receiver is going to break at a certain point when your back foot hits this part of your drive and you want to get the ball off right at the break. Like that's what they're looking for. So he was asked to use much more traditionally fundamental sound footwork. And at the beginning, not the easiest thing to do in the world, right? It's changing your instincts. We used to, like when the freshmen would first get to college, because we played in a version of the West Coast, it was like clockwork. You could see the freshmen, their mouths would be counting their drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Because they like usually in high school, you're the best athlete on the field, and the coach is like, yeah, whatever, and you're just kind of bouncing around, then you throw it. But it'd be like 1, 2, 3, and a hitch. You would see them counting it out. And then as you get older, it became more and more and more and more muscle memory. And then by, sophomore, junior year, you're doing it without thinking. Drake Maye got there. Like a month in, he's completely rewired. Watch his footwork on Saturday. It was darn near flawless for long stretches. Not perfect the whole time, but he's stepping up in the pocket. He's climbing. He's hitting stuff in rhythm. That is absurd. Right? People talk about changing instincts or muscle memory, right? To change something in your throwing motion, it's 10,000 throws. That's always what I was told. Same with footwork or basketball shot form or whatever it is. 10,000 is the number I was always told. He did it in like 2 weeks with minimal reps because he's splitting them with Jacoby Brissett at best. Now, let's look at the rest of his team, right? He's mastering fundamentals, even if they're new to him, in weeks. He had an offensive lineman that couldn't line up on the line despite being told by the referees over and over and over again. Their left tackle lined up in the backfield, meaning you have to be, when you're in your stance, your helmet has to be lined up with the belt of the center. If you're any further back than that, you're technically like a running back.
Yes.
So, and
yeah.
then
What was taught? A helmet on the hip.
Exactly, which is, it's the perfect thing because it's your helmet. Look to your right. If you see the center, you're good. If you look to your right and you're behind the center, take a step up.
Mm-hmm.
Their left tackle was thrown for 4 flags for illegal formation for lining up in the back, and then in the backfield, so much that the ref said once again, turn on the little microphone, right? Normally, pass interference, offense, spot foul, or a defense, spot foul, automatic first down. He flipped on the microphone and said, once again, left tackle, 77, lining up off the line of scrimmage. He said the term once again. And by the way, as we learned from, if you were paying attention and listening to the broadcast, they bring on those like referee consultants. As you learned from the referee consultant, both teams were warned prior to the game, and that is a flag that doesn't get thrown the first time. You get a warning. So, 4 flags, 1 pregame warning, 1 in-game warning, 6 times this guy isn't adjusting. It's unreal. And by the way, that's a flag that doesn't really impact the game, right? You're lining up 7 inches behind where you should. It's not like, oh, Drake Maye made an awesome play, but it might have just been because the tackle was lined up off the line of scrimmage. It doesn't really affect the play,
mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes you see a long run and the flag is thrown for holding, and then when they show the replay, it's like, oh, that guy definitely would have made the tackle if he wasn't tackled by the offensive lineman. That's the reason why that play sprung. Not the case. Drake Maye made one of those plays, right? Stepped up, escaped to his left, threw it off. We actually just heard it the broadcast during the rejoin at a commercial. Found KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne scored. It all came back. That didn't count. It is the definition of this guy is doing everything you want, so by comparison, it makes it very obvious when someone does not. And it actually made Jerod Mayo, their head coach, kind of blunt force. You had to be honest, because he knows we're not stupid enough to believe anything else.
Yeah.
All the way through training camp, it's been, Jacoby Brissett, Drake Maye's coming up. Drake Maye's our second best guy. Then after this game, he was on WEEI. Jerod Mayo was their head coach, talking about the quarterback competition, and he just kind of called it as he sees it.
This is a true competition. It wasn't fluff or anything like that. It's a true competition, and I would say at this current point, Drake has outplayed Jacoby. Now I'm saying that we have to take in the full body of work, going all the way back to the spring and the beginning of training camp, and we'll see where we end up. But those are the conversations that will happen here over the next couple of days.
Hilarious. Absolute. This is a Saturday Night Live sketch. It's so hilarious because Jerod Mayo has said over and over and over and over again, competition is competition. He even said if Drake Maye is better than Jacoby Brissett, he'll be the starter. Now he's going, Drake Maye has played better, but I don't like the way that this was framed the way I said it before. Right? And by the way, like going back to the spring, that just shows where you started, right? If Jacoby Brissett started off as the better quarterback in the spring and now Drake is playing better in August, wouldn't that mean that he just made up a ton of ground?
Yeah, wouldn't that mean, he's better now?
Yeah, it would be like, wait.
This guy's progressing.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Look, we need to go with the guy that was better before because that's the same as being good now. Jerod Mayo laid out the rules and then watched Drake Maye win based on Jerod Mayo's rules, and he's having second thoughts. Mm-hmm. It actually reminds me of, and I've watched this happen all over the place because I was one that had to kind of eat the crow. Do you remember when Brady and Peyton Manning, that was like the debate that everybody just went on and on and on about? Who's better, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? And I remember being in those arguments and going like, sure, if Brady won like 3 more Super Bowls, we would have to go ahead and switch it. But Manning, the stats, the eye test, and then Brady went out and won the 3 Super Bowls, and I was like, darn it, based on what I said, I kind of have to go to Brady now, right? Like I kind of painted myself into a corner with that one, didn't I? Jerod Mayo did that. He's like, whoever's playing better, that's going to be our starter. I think at the time, he thought like the 8-year veteran with a bunch of starting experience would just be better based on that. But then when Drake Maye showed up and played better, he's kind of like, I wish I didn't say that before, huh?
Well, so yes, Ken on our Ken88 on a YouTube live stream on our live chat says, talking about Jerod Mayo, doesn't want to put him, referring to Drake Maye, doesn't want to put him out there because that terrible offensive line.
That is...
I was like, I get that.
Fantastic point.
I get it.
If they are simply going off of what Jerod Mayo was saying, which is, and I'm going to get to what Ken said in a second, because Jerod Mayo said the competition is the competition and whoever plays best is going to play, then Drake Maye is the quarterback. If they have recognized that based on their offensive line, they are essentially going to sacrifice the starting quarterback to a bad offensive line, then Jacoby Brissett's going to have to wear that one. He's going to have to eat that, right? If it's, hey, go out there and do your best, fine. But what I will say, I mean, Jacoby Brissett took a shot. I don't know if everybody saw that. There was a situation where the offensive line ran into each other twice. The pulling guard that was supposed to get the defensive end ran into his own offensive lineman and then ran into the running back, so that defensive end he was supposed to block just got a free shot on Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett he's a vet, right? He can take a shot. What I will say is there were a few times the protection broke down against Drake Maye, and he was able to make something out of it. He was able to use his mobility. That is something he brings to the table. So I lean towards you play the young guy if he's the better guy, because I don't know how you look the rest of the team in the eye and say, like, oh, we're doing everything we can to win, when they're like, no, we saw it. That guy's better. You just don't want the guy that's better to get hurt and go out there. I think that's tough. But I get the logic of our offensive line is that bad. Jerod Mayo was talking about with them having the third waiver selection. He said our starting guard and starting tackle might not be on our roster right now, which I should acknowledge. I should acknowledge the Panthers also need offensive line help, and they have the first waiver position.
Yeah.
So the Patriots are acknowledging the best offensive lineman will probably be claimed. The third best offensive lineman still might be starting to guard for us.
It's sad is we saw terrible offensive line play for the Panthers last year, and we're going like, your offensive line stinks.
The thing that frustrated me the most
was
the penalties, man. They every single play they made was just like, nope. So
and the guy committing those penalties, by the way, Chuks Okorafor, was a starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There you go. So you know all about that.
I do.
But it's funny because I was watching mostly for Drake Maye insight. Like I wanted to get so I was getting what I wanted. I was like, that's another good throw. That's another great play. Oh, look, him and Polk have a nice little connection. Oh, that's a good run. But none of it was counting. It was very much like eye test. And then, all right, well, back it up 5 yards and try to do it again. It was almost like we talk about preseason being a scrimmage. It was like a coach-controlled scrimmage where, all right, 2nd and 8, you pick up the first down. All right, perfect. 3rd and 13, you pick up the first down. All right, we're going to run 3rd and 18 now. It's like, oh, this is just scripted to make us get in worse situations as it goes along. Except it was just false starts and holds the whole time bringing it back. It truly was absolutely ridiculous. I want to move on to some college football, but I could seriously nerd out on that Drake Maye game all day. His wide receivers weren't necessarily getting open. His offensive line wasn't necessarily blocking, and I still left impressed. That's about as good as you could hope for from that quarterback in that game. And then Joe Milton went in and did some Joe Milton things, which means throwing the ball 140 miles an hour and then running for 35 yards, and it's mixing in an interception and a couple bad decisions. He is just a roller coaster of emotions.